Hi, my name is Scott, and I have read all of the Harry Potter books multiple times. I've seen all of the movies, and like most of my peers, I continue to be a Harry Potter enthusiast to this day.
And I'm Becky, and I have never read a Harry Potter book or seen any of the films, which makes me the ultimate Muggle.
Join us as we make our way through each book, section by section, where Becky will make predictions about what she thinks will happen next.
And Scott will try to convince me why it's a good series, worth reading, and maybe even worth loving.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Muggle's Guide to Hogwarts, where we are exploring the Harry Potter series with the ultimate Muggle, someone who has never seen the movies, never read the books, and has no intention of doing so ever in her life until right now when I'm making her do it. We are getting through this book. We're talking about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and we are blazing through it, really.
Yeah, we only have like 2 sections left after this, I think.
This book is not long, believe it or not. It's a pretty short book. So last episode, Becky made her predictions for chapters 7, 8, and 9. And then we went ahead and read those chapters together because we're geeks. And now we're just going to talk about kind of what we discovered, what we learned, and how we feel about those chapters. And then later on, Becky's going to make her prediction for the next 3 chapters, for chapters 10, 11, and 12. But oh my goodness.
Oof.
7, 8, 9.
These were some big uns.
We're a doozy. A lot happened.
There is a lot happening and a lot of people and a lot of classes. And it is a little hard to keep it all straight. And I got so much of it wrong, but that's okay. That's not really the point.
I loved your prediction though, because you got so much of it wrong.
Yeah.
You also you got some stuff right, and you reasoned out some things that I think are totally reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like the fact that you got a lot of it wrong.
Yeah.
This is really unknown territory. And this is the part of the book where it really opens up because Harry gets to Hogwarts.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like this whole new world for him.
Right.
So I don't know. It's kind of exciting. Just so everyone's on the same page, chapters 7, 8, and 9 are when Harry arrives at Hogwarts Castle. He just got off of the Hogwarts Express. He literally steps up to the door, and that's where these chapters begin. So he goes through the sorting ceremony. He gets placed in Gryffindor. And then there's a chapter where he's exploring all of his new classes and kind of gets into a little of a argument with Professor Snape and learns that Professor Snape doesn't like him very much. And also gets into an argument with Malfoy, who's his nemesis now at this point. And they go and arrange to have a duel in the trophy room at Hogwarts. And Malfoy never shows up, and it's a trap to actually get him in trouble.
Can we talk about the Sorting Hat?
I would love to talk about the Sorting Hat.
It confuses me.
Why?
Well, okay, so the Sorting Hat is just some omniscient being that knows what path they're supposed to take.
Yeah.
And it's a hat.
Yeah.
And I was a little confused the way the book was written when Harry put it on and they were kind of having that internal dialogue. That was all only inside the hat, right?
Yes.
No one else heard that.
Yeah, no one else heard that.
Okay, so one could assume that, for another child, when it's it took a whole minute before the hat said this, there was another internal dialogue going on between this isn't a Harry can also talk to inanimate objects.
No. So the Sorting Hat is a cool magical relic, I think. And that's how everyone gets sorted in their houses. So what Harry experienced, everyone else is also experiencing. But obviously for some people, it didn't take that long, right? For
Right.
Malfoy, the hat barely touched his head and it shouted Slytherin.
Mm-hmm.
So for some people, it doesn't take a long time. For some people, it takes a while. And for Harry, I think they said like it took the longest out of all of the kids that were there.
Okay.
And just to tell you a little bit about the Sorting Hat, because I don't think it'll come up too much. The Sorting Hat plays a cool role in the second book and kind of throughout the series, but I don't think like the history of the Sorting Hat is really that important in the following books. So I'll just tell you, it was like created. So there's 4 people that founded Hogwarts. And those 4 people created the 4 houses of Hogwarts. And in order to separate students into which house was the best fit for them, the Gryffindor person, whose name is Godric Gryffindor, you'll learn that later, he created the Sorting Hat. And so he like put a bunch of magic into it, made it this kind of omniscient, I guess not omniscient, but
It has one function.
as far as you're aware, it has one function.
Okay. Yeah. So it doesn't know everything, but it knows this one particular thing, and that is what house they need to go into.
I guess it can see into people's kind of character and mind and determine based on that where they might be a good fit in Hogwarts.
Okay.
And if you remember, it struggled a little bit with Harry.
Yeah. But it didn't only struggle with Harry.
Right. It didn't only struggle with Harry, but that was the only one that we
really got an inside look at.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yes. I feel like I know that's important and relevant in terms of where the story is going, like the whole Phoenix tale being one was used in the evil guy's wand and one is now in Harry's wand. Like there's going to be like this dichotomy, this good versus evil, 2 sides of a coin kind of situation. So I feel like the dialogue there between the hat and Harry was kind of setting up more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the other house that, besides Gryffindor, the other house that the hat was considering putting Harry in was Slytherin.
Yeah.
And we know that Slytherin was the house that Voldemort was in.
Yeah. Can we, are we going to say his name on the podcast, or is that going to like freak people out? Like, should we call him like V-Dog or something?
Yeah. Just like all the other wizards in Harry Potter. They say V-Dog a lot. Yeah. Good old V-Dog.
That's his street name.
We can call him V-Dog if you want.
All right.
Yeah,
I like that.
I like that too.
Okay. What was the thing that Dumbledore said that made me laugh really hard when we were reading the book?
I think there were a couple moments, but
He said something about like first some words and then he like rattled off some nonsense.
Yeah, there's the sorting ceremony, and then Dumbledore says, "Before we feast, I'd like to say a few words," and then he says, "Absolute nonsense."
That's amazing. It just reminds me of like one of my favorite jokes from 30 Rock when Alec Baldwin is like, "Kenneth, a word?" and he goes, "Balloon."
Yeah.
That's just...
He was like, higgledy flop, something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I made a note of that because that made me chuckle.
Yeah. And I think that's supposed to show you that Dumbledore is a little out there, right?
Yeah, a little quirky.
They were talking about how brilliant he is, but he's also a little crazy too.
Mm-hmm. Or is he just a genius?
Or is it all of those things?
Maybe. Also, okay, so during the feast, Harry said something about the Dursleys never starved him, but he like the food was really good, whatever he said. Didn't they definitely say that they would like put him in the cupboard for 10 days without food? Like
I don't know. I don't remember the 10 days without food thing.
After the zoo incident.
Oh, he Mr. Dursley threatened him with no food for a week. Like, you'll be in your cupboard with no food for a week. That was a threat. But as far as we know, he's never done that to Harry.
I don't know. I remember it differently, but okay.
I mean, yeah, I could definitely be mistaken. I don't think it's ever, from my memory, I don't think I ever remember reading that Harry was like starved for multiple days, but maybe. I mean, the Dursleys did not treat him well, so it's a possibility. One of the things that you said that you predicted last week that you were 100% right on, which I want to congratulate you on, is nearly headless Nick.
Oh, yeah, I was kind of right about that, even though it was ridiculous.
You were 100% right. You were like in more ways than one, because you predicted first off that his head would be like hanging on by a thread.
Well, to be fair, I thought it would be like tiny.
His head?
Yeah, like he almost doesn't have a head. Like it's so small.
Oh, no
I might not have explained
I did not get that at all. I don't know.
Well, probably because you were picturing what you knew.
I have a really set image.
I was picturing like a Q-tip.
You're picturing someone with a tiny, tiny head.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, I did not know that. I was just, when you were explaining him or predicting him, I was just picturing what I know to be nearly headless Nick.
No. I was like someone with like,
That's
regular
goofy.
body and then this like itty bitty.
That's
tiny.
pretty goofy. Okay, you got that one wrong.
No, but I got a lot of it right. I mean, it was a different interpretation of nearly headless. But then I said that he was like either an RA or a ghost. And he's kind of both of those things. Doesn't he kind of like walk the halls?
Yeah, he's kind of both.
I mean, he is definitely a ghost.
He's the Hogwarts house ghost. And he kind of has a responsibility, I guess, to aid Gryffindor students and other students in the school. He's never really kind of played up as like an authority figure or an RA.
Sure.
But I think it's close enough. I mean, you did kind of RA and ghost.
Yeah, I was like, one of these things, I don't know.
Both of those things it's pretty good. That's pretty spot on. Yeah.
I was happy about that when we were reading it.
I remember when we were reading it, you kind of getting like totally freaked out or just confused maybe by when all the ghosts show up and they just like glide out of nowhere and glide through people. I just remember you like pausing and going, what is happening?
Well, there's a lot going on. There's like this feast and this sorting and there's these ghosts that are coming in out of nowhere. And it was just like stimulation overload, I think.
Right.
I have a question. So what is a prefect?
So a prefect, I'm pretty sure in like British culture is like a leader or something like that in British boarding schools. I don't know their actual definition or responsibilities, but in Harry Potter, prefects are essentially the RAs. They are, once you get to a certain grade in Hogwarts, they select a prefect or several prefects for each Hogwarts house. So you have to be, I think maybe like 5th.
So that grade. Is like an RA, like an upperclassman that like has
they
some respectability.
Exactly. They like guide the students. They're supposed to kind of make students follow the rules. They can give detentions out. They can deduct house points from different students. So they kind of, among the student body, they are like the rule makers and law enforcement to make sure everyone's kind of sticking to the right way of being students.
Gotcha.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I must be confusing this word with another word because I thought a prefect meant a ghost. And so then I was very confused. And I don't know why. Like, I don't know what word I'm confusing it with.
You're confusing it with poltergeist, which also comes
I do not know what that word. I still don't quite understand that word.
A poltergeist is a ghost that can interact with objects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can other ghosts not interact with objects? Like they couldn't pick something up?
Yes.
They would pass through them?
So that's like the main difference between Nearly Headless Nick and Peeves, the poltergeist. Nearly Headless Nick is gliding through things and he can't actually pick things up and interact with things, but Peeves can. And so he's kind of like the mischief maker and he goes around and causes chaos.
Can he eat?
Peeves?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. He can't interact with food.
He can't eat. And Nearly Headless Nick definitely can't eat.
Well, because his head's not on his neck.
Well, and also he said that he can't eat.
Right.
During the feast, he was like looking longingly at the food when the students were eating it.
That's right. That's right.
I remember when I could eat food.
Yeah.
I remember the taste of strawberries.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. And then I just have a note that like there are like multiple more people who are just described as fat. Like, oh, this is the fat friar and the painting with the fat woman. And it just feels a little, I don't know, low-hanging fruit. I don't know.
Yeah, who are the fat characters? There's all the Dursleys except for Petunia. There's Crabbe and Goyle, who are fat.
Both of them are fat?
I think they're both described as pretty fat. Yeah.
Mm.
Maybe they don't use the word fat, but I think they're supposed to be fat. Or like beefy. They're supposed to be kind of like bulky, like bullies.
Like they're like
big,
Draco's like bouncers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's just better ways to describe that, I think. But it
Totally.
just, now that I'm like aware of it, it was just like, really?
So what'd you think of the school itself? Like this was your first look at Hogwarts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of cool things about Hogwarts.
There are cool things. I really enjoyed the way they said that the ceiling looked like the night sky.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool that you could just like see straight up and see all the stars. And they're probably around like not a lot of light pollution, I would assume. So you could see a lot of stars, and that's really cool. The other thing that was really funny to me was the staircases kind of like moving around and being tricky, I guess. It just reminded me of the last scene in the Labyrinth where there's like all these staircases and you get to the top of one and then you're at the bottom of something else. And
yeah. There's something like 140 staircases in Hogwarts or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And they move around, and they were talking about like sometimes there's a trick stair, and so you have to know which one to jump. And
yeah, that's wild. I mean, I get lost easily enough as it is. I cannot imagine. I get lost like walking around the blocks. So
yeah, that's definitely
this
true.
is not a place for me. Just why I'm a Muggle, I guess.
And then there's 4 houses, and I want to talk about the houses in a second, but there's 4 houses, and they each have like their own living space. And it's kind of like hidden from the other students because the Gryffindor one is behind this portrait, and they need a password to get in.
Oh, okay.
And that's just kind of, I don't know. I like that idea. It's like a clubhouse essentially, right? I think that's kind of cool. But speaking of the houses, what did you kind of think of that? Because you've alluded to knowing about them for a while. Like you knew Slytherin was one.
Sure.
And I think you probably knew about Gryffindor.
Mm-hmm.
And you called them breeds for a while, and like sororities or fraternities, and all you had all these different names, and they're just called schoolhouses.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it is a very nice way to kind of like breed camaraderie and like, oh, like-minded people together, and you have these characteristics, and probably some people will be more cunning and some will be more tricksy. I don't really have a lot of like feelings or thoughts about them yet because I don't know what any of them mean. We just kind of know that Slytherin's the evil one. Like if there were hints about different personalities within it, I don't know what they are yet.
Yeah, I guess we can talk more about that kind of as this book goes on, and then as the rest of the book series goes on, because you will get a glimpse into more of that later on.
Yeah, Gryffindor seems to be kind of like the pure-hearted one, at least like, you know, Harry's parents were Gryffindors, and Dumbledore, I think, is a Gryffindor.
I think so.
And you just said the guy who made the Sorting Hat is a Gryffindor. So that seems to be kind of like, in this country, we would say all-American, but I don't know what you would call it in that country.
Here's like the breakdown that as I understand it. So Gryffindors are the brave house. They are, I think, described as the brave of heart. They're also pretty smart. Ravenclaw is the smart house. They're the ones that are really intelligent and like.
Why isn't Hermione in that one?
Great question. Great question. I don't know. Hufflepuff is kind of like the all-around good house. They value loyalty and friendship.
So they're like the golden retriever of Hogwarts houses.
Yeah, you could say that. And Slytherin are the cunning. They are students that will do kind of anything to get their way and get ahead, but not necessarily evil.
They're like the Huskies of the Hogwarts houses.
You're You're just assigning dog breeds to all
I'm just assigning dog breeds to these. That's how it makes sense in my brain.
I think it's really funny because in one of the sorting ceremony songs that the Hat sings, and the Hat sings several times throughout the series, in one of them he's like, Gryffindors are brave, and Ravenclaws are smart, and Slytherins are cunning, and Hufflepuff is everyone else. And I think that's really funny.
That's
Just
really
everyone else
funny.
that doesn't fit in those categories, you're a Hufflepuff. People, just to let you know, people in the Harry Potter community are really intense about their houses.
I'm quite aware.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
There are like multiple quizzes you can take to find out what house you are, and people are fiercely loyal to whatever house they are placed in. I'm gonna make you take one
No,
of those
I was
quizzes.
just about to say I do not want to
I'm
take
going
one
to
of
make you
these.
take one.
Ugh.
I'm curious. You would be my guess is you would be either Ravenclaw or Hufflepuff.
Oh, those are the ones that nobody likes.
No, everyone loves those.
Oh, fine. Okay.
Everyone loves those. People don't like Gryffindor and Slytherin because they're lame.
I thought everybody liked Gryffindor.
Gryffindor is overplayed. Everyone's sick of Gryffindor.
Okay, so they have a bunch of classes. Some I got right, some I got wrong. I don't really think it matters. What?
I don't know. I find it funny that you misplaced almost every teacher except for Quirrell because he's the only one that you knew going into it.
Did I misplace almost everyone?
Yeah, you said Madam Hooch taught potions.
Yeah.
I think you said Snape did Transfiguration, and you did Oliver Wood as the flying instructor.
Which I wasn't crazy far off with
No,
since
not
he's
at all.
the captain of the Quidditch team, as we learn in the last chapter, I think. I don't remember. I knew it had something to do with Quidditch.
Yeah, you were pretty much right. I find it funny that just where you put Snape, because in my head, it's hard to dissociate these teachers with the classes.
Sure.
And Snape as, I think you said Transfiguration, is crazy to me. Just because in my head, he is like through and through the potion maker. And he also wants to be the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. Like there's this kind of like job that he's been vying for years.
Yeah, and I actually think I said that, or at least I had originally assigned him to Defense of the Dark Arts
Did
class
you?
because he just sounds evil. But then I changed it because I
Because
knew
you
that
knew
Professor
Quirrell.
Quirrell was.
Yeah.
So that was kind of in my brain. But yeah, whether I got them right or wrong, it doesn't really matter. But I did want to talk about the flying thing. Like obviously, Harry Potter's this prodigy broom flyer.
Yeah. He's pretty good at it.
And that's really interesting. And I did really like when, there's all this lead up of Harry and his friends getting in trouble. And then so whenever Harry flies and catches the
Snitch. Oh,
No,
sorry.
not yet.
I jumped ahead.
No.
It's called a remembrall.
Yeah. I was like, a marble? Yeah. The remember. Anyway, when Mrs. McGonagall, marches him away and we think he's going to get in so much trouble. And then, she goes and she pulls out the captain of the Quidditch team and they have their little chat. I just think Mrs. McGonagall changed a lot to me in that moment. And like, I saw her as this like crazy sports fan lady, which is really interesting and kind of helps fill out her character a little bit. She's not just this like strict old lady. She's like also a sports nut. And I'm like, okay, now I see you.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really nice on a couple of different levels.
Yeah. McGonagall has some interesting kind of character traits, and that being really like a Quidditch fanatic is one of them. But, there's 7 books for her to develop and kind of get more relatable to and human-like. And she does. She's one of the good ones for sure.
It just reminded me of like, how some ladies are like really nice and like will bake you cookies. And then they're like huge NASCAR fans or like something like that. Like it's just nice to have like another side to this like one-sided character.
Yeah. Okay, we have to talk about Snape and potions class, because that's a pretty important scene where Harry is in potions class. It's his first potions class, And Snape just hates him and like rags on him from the very beginning and is picking on him the entire time and embarrasses him and embarrasses Hermione and like continually takes house points away from him.
That was rude. It's kind of like Dudley Dursley 2.0, like, except now he has power and he can just be rude and mean to him for no reason. I just don't really think it's fair.
No.
No.
Why would Harry deserve that?
He doesn't.
He's just Harry.
Yeah, he's just a boy. Which just furthers my theory that he's a pretty evil guy.
Well, you picked it up right from the name.
Yeah.
Whose name's Snape?
Exactly.
It's a weird name.
It is a weird name. I mean, they're all weird names. So I wanted to talk about why they're all wearing bathrobes as they're running around Hogwarts. Is that a British thing? Do they mean pajamas? Like, they literally says they're wearing their bathrobes and then someone goes and puts on their bathrobe. And so like.
So you're talking about when they're running around the school at night.
Yes.
Not during the day. They don't wear bathrobes all the time.
I understand that, but
yeah, at night, I do remember reading that and you going, what the hell is wrong with them? Why are they wearing bathrobes to run around the school? I have no idea. I honestly didn't think about that ever until right now.
Well, like I said, I'm going to be pointing out any clothing specific things, especially things that don't make sense. Like what 11-year-old like gets up and is, in their PJs and they're like, let me put on my bathrobe now.
I have no idea. Maybe it is a British thing. Maybe people in Britain wear their bathrobe wherever they go at night.
I don't know. I just found it funny. Because Hermione was also in a pink bathrobe. That was it. Like, Ron and Harry put on their bathrobes to go to this midnight duel, which bathrobe, not the best thing for dueling, but whatever.
They're 11.
and then Hermione shows up and crashes their party, and she's wearing her pink bathrobe. And I'm like, what is with all these bathrobes? You never noticed that before?
Never. Not once have I thought about the bathrobes in Harry Potter until you, of course, bring it up.
Do they wear them in the movie?
I think they do, actually. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, I definitely think they do.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to watch the movie. When we're done reading the book, we're going to watch the movie, and then we'll have an episode about that.
Are we going to read all the books and then watch all the movies? Or are we going to, like, read book one, watch movie one?
Yeah. We're going to read book one, then watch the movie, then read book two and watch the movie. So we'll go through it like that.
Okay.
Just so you can like compare directly after reading the book what the movie is like.
Okay.
I think they do wear bathrobes now. And it's just a very funny realization. The kind of big thing that happens in this series, there's a lot of big stuff that happens, but the big kind of plot-driven thing that happens is after this midnight duel, they're running away from Filch, who's chasing them, and they run into the Forbidden Corridor, and they meet this three-headed dog named Fluffy, who you thought was a big cat.
Oh, well, of course I would think it's a big cat, but yes, it is a three-headed dog.
And then they barely escape, and they get back to their common room, and Hermione has her famous line.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
We could have been killed, or worse, expelled.
Yeah.
That was funny. Hermione also like did this like long series of, well, if it's guarding a trap door, that must mean that, like, just a whole lot of assumptions at the end, which I guess is just like moving the plot forward. But I'm just like, how would you possibly know that?
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this book. Just convenient for the plot. Like,
I understand everything. I saw a door and now I know it all.
You guys were looking at its three heads. I was looking at its feet. And Ron even points that out. He's like, we were looking at its heads,
all
not
the
its
teeth.
Feet.
Yeah, that was really funny at the end.
Yeah, that was a goofy moment. And I always forget that Neville's with them, which is kind of funny too.
Yeah.
So based off of these three chapters where like the plot is actually kind of like building, what's your understanding of the plot so far? What do you think the plot is?
I have like no idea, honestly. Like,
isn't that crazy that we're this far into, we're more than halfway through, and you don't have a clear idea of what the plot is.
There's something. Okay, so we think there's something hidden in the trapdoor because Hermione told us so. And then is it Harry who thinks that it might be the thing Hagrid took from the bank?
Yeah, which is another huge
huge leap.
Yeah.
So I think that's now the plot, but they're just spoon feeding it to us to get us there.
Yeah.
So I guess and we don't know what Hagrid took from the bank yet, right?
We have no idea.
We
what
have
he
no
took from the
idea.
bank.
It was just in a grubby little package, and that's all we know. But it apparently caused some drama back at Diagon Alley or whatever, right? So and so broke in, but it wasn't there. So there's some.
It's never even so. Yeah, he took this grubby little package, which is how it's described constantly, as a grubby little package with it, which I think is funny. And then there's a break-in at Gringotts later that day. And then Harry's reading this story.
He's like, that must be it.
Yeah. He's like, they must have broken into that same vault, which is another big leap. I don't know. It makes sense for the reader to kind of make that connection, I guess, because those are the two things that happen at the bank. But when you think about it, there's no confirmation in the news story where what vault was actually robbed. So I think that's funny.
Yeah, so I think the plot has to do with whatever that mystery package is.
I guess that's all you have so far.
That's literally it. Yeah.
The whole first half of the book is Harry getting to Hogwarts, and the plot hasn't even really happened yet.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Becky's going to try and make her predictions now. But let me just go through the rules one more time, and then I'll give Becky all the information that she will get. So for her prediction, I give Becky the chapter names, the next 3 chapters in the book. I give her those names. I tell her the major characters that play a role in those 3 chapters. And then I tell her the major locations that play a role in those 3 chapters. So chapter names, characters, and locations. And based on all that information, she has to piece together some predictions for the next 3 chapters. So here we go. Chapter 10 is called Halloween. Chapter 11 is called Quidditch, and Chapter 12 is called The Mirror of Erised. And within those chapters, the main characters that play an important role are Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, Hermione Granger, Oliver Wood, Professor Flitwick, a mountain troll, Hagrid, Nicholas Flamel, The Mirror of Erised, and Dumbledore. So those are the major characters, and the major locations are the Quidditch pitch, Charms class, the girls' bathroom, Snape. Wait, what? Snape?
Yeah, I saw that.
I didn't mean to write that down.
The location is
I must
Snape.
have meant to write him in the major characters. Move Snape over to major characters.
Too late.
Okay, all right. Okay. The Quidditch pitch. Again. Okay, so I put Quidditch pitch in here twice, just to tell you that it comes up in 2 places.
Okay.
Hagrid's hut, the school library, and the classroom with the Mirror of Erised. Don't forget Snape. Are you ready to jump in?
Sure.
All right, hit us with your predictions.
All right, so chapter 10, we have Halloween, which probably not very surprising, but another thing we weren't allowed to celebrate as kids was Halloween. So what I imagined in my mind was kind of like a topsy-turvy Halloween. I will explain. So in Muggle land that you and I live in.
Muggle land.
Yes.
That's where we are.
Yeah. We celebrate Halloween by dressing up as witches and wizards and ghouls and goblins. So I'm wondering if they have Halloween at Hogwarts, but they're dressing up like super basic muggles. You know what I mean?
I do know
look
what
at
you
me.
mean.
I'm a mailman, and look at me. I'm a David Bowie. I don't know.
David Bowie's pretty
I know.
crazy,
That was
though.
that was a bad example.
That's a great idea.
I'm a grocery store clerk.
Yeah, there you go. That's a great idea. I love that.
So I'm going to say that Halloween is kind of like what we would think of like as an anti-Halloween. Like they're not allowed to use magic and they have to dress up like Muggles. And yeah, that's that.
Okay, so that's Halloween.
That's Halloween. So they're going through that. And they go to Charms class and it's super awkward because they can't use any magic because it's Halloween. So they have to like figure out something else.
Why can't they use magic on Halloween? Oh, because they're dressed as Muggles.
Yeah.
Got
it's
it,
like one of the rules.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have to like do something else clever. And Hermione, something happens to Hermione on Halloween and she goes to cry in the girls' bathroom because that's a very common thing for girls to do on Halloween.
Do you have experience with that?
Not that I know of, but just
that's just the
thing.
Okay, all right.
I mean, any holiday where you're out, there's probably going to be a girl crying in the bathroom.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Quidditch. Also, I would just like to point out that these chapter titles used to be really clever and funny and long, and this one's just called Halloween, and this one's just called Quidditch.
Yeah, that's true.
That was funny. So Oliver Wood is the captain. We know him, and we're going to go to our first Quidditch game. I don't know what the Quidditch pitch is, but I'm guessing it's like the arena that they play Quidditch in.
Yeah, pitch is like a field, like a field for sports.
Oh, that's just like a regular word? I just don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So they're going to play ball or whatever they say. Do they have something they say when they...
You're going to have to wait and find out.
Okay. Do they sing like a national anthem of Hogwarts?
You're going to have to wait and find out.
Okay. I think they do.
And then I'll make you sing the whole thing.
I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
So the professors are all there. The gang's all there. They're supporting Harry, and he's like this prodigy or potagy.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
I can't help myself. And they play around, and somebody wins, and somebody loses, and someone's mad about it. That's
As most sports games go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have the Mirror of Erised?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Erised? So that's a weird word that I looked at for a while, and I think because she's used these kind of like interesting literary devices before, like Diagon Alley being diagonally, I think it's desire backwards, like a mirror image. Am I right?
I don't know.
Okay. It just is such a weird word that does not flow off the tip of the tongue at all.
It is hard to say.
And so I was thinking about the mirror. The Mirror of Erised, which I think is desire backwards. So the trio, Harry, Ron, Hermione, they go to the library. They're doing some research on this mirror, and they want to know where to find it. They kind of have like a heading. They think it's like hidden in this forest, up this mountain. So they go to Hagrid at his hut, and they're like, hey, can you help us find this mirror that's hidden in this forest? Have you ever seen 10th Kingdom?
No.
Oh, it's like a super obscure, weird magic thing that I watched as a kid, but I don't think I was allowed to watch it. I think I watched it at the same neighbors' houses.
You snuck watched it?
I think I did. It's like a mini series from the 90s, but there's these hidden mirrors that go to other worlds, and they're hidden in the forest.
Cool.
And so I think that's why that's in my head. So they're going into this forest, and Hagrid's like, no, don't do it. Like, don't go in the forest by yourself. But they do it anyway. And they run into a mountain troll, and he's very scary. And they do like a spell, like Hermione's like, Expelliarmus, or whatever she says.
Expelliarmus.
Yeah. That one?
That sounds like 7 spells tied into one.
Nice. Okay, and then while they're in the woods, they meet this person who lives there named Nicholas Flamel.
Sorry, it cracks me up.
Is it not Flamel?
Nicholas Flamel.
And he's wearing flannel like a lumberjack. He's living in the woods. She uses words in a very obvious way sometimes. And he is the keeper of the mirror. And it's like hidden around his cabin. But somehow they convince him to let them take it. Maybe they're going to bring it back, or maybe they're like going to be used for good or something. So they take it back and they bring it to the classroom. So now it's the classroom with the mirror of Irizid. How do you say it?
I still can't get over Nicholas Flamel.
Anyway, and then Dumbledore. Erised, yes. So they bring it to their classroom and they show Dumbledore and they're like, look how great we are. We got this mirror. And Dumbledore is mad. He is angry.
Whoa.
And that is the predictions for chapter 10, 11, and 12 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Those are amazing. Nice job. Incredible predictions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for making those predictions, Becky. Now we're going to go read the book, and we'll be back next week to talk about what the hell we just read. And Becky will be making her predictions for chapters 13, 14, and 15. Thank you guys so much for listening. Go follow us on Twitter at Muggles Guide. Go follow us on Instagram at Muggles Guide Podcast. We post some stuff there. It's fun and silly. And if you want to stay up to date, follow us there. Also, I'm putting all of these on YouTube now. So if you want to watch us on YouTube, you can go and do that. If you like what you're listening to, go give us what are they called? Reviews.
Reviews.
If you like what go give us a review. Go give us a review.
Flim
Flim. Go give us 5 stars or whatever. Thank you guys so much. And we are going to catch you next time.
Bow, chicka, bow, wow.
Yeah, okay, bye.